Hey everyone, welcome to another rousing episode of the Arita podcast on LinkedIn. I am here with Marina and Eric from New Standard, which is such a delight because Eric, I think I met you and Faraz, I don't even know, beginning of this year, maybe at the end of last year. And I was like, holy mackerel, these guys know what they're doing. And then we started to work with Marina on some accounts and I was like, okay, Marina knows like infinitely more about the retention space than I do. And so I'm just grateful that I got to sucker you both in to share a lot of your insights. Thank you both for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Definitely.
I want to start with intros, not just like hey, I live here and, this is where I work, but like really a little bit about both of your backgrounds. How'd you get, yeah, like kind of how'd you get to here? You can take that wherever you want. But Marina, I want to start with you. Can you share a little bit more in depth about your background? And then we'll definitely go into new standard stuff, please.
Yeah, sounds good. I've been in the marketing space for about 10 plus years. I started out as an intern at Yelp, so straight into that corporate, speak and background. And then I moved from there into a marketing role in a D2C e-commerce company, a marketing management role. I enjoyed it. It was really great. We worked with some big brands like Star Wars and Pokemon. And it really started to open my eyes into the retention space. So I started to dabble in that as a deeper channel. And this was about 6, 7 years ago. So I've been in the marketing space for a while. I started to see the retention space as more of an area that I was interested in and more that I could control and felt more confident in versus like the ad space or social, all the other channels that you can. And so I leaned in really heavily there. And I started to pick up side clients. And then I really moved my career into making it more of my bread and butter. And then I was fortunate enough to meet Eric and Faraz a couple of years ago through a platform. And they brought me on and then it skyrocketed from there. So really enjoying the space, really enjoying what we're doing at New Standard here. But yeah, little background on me.
It's awesome. Eric, before I turn to you, Marina, I actually want to ask two quick follow-ups. The first one is at Yelp. Were you at the building on 2nd Street that was great. I used to visit there a lot. I had a bunch of friends there. What a great space. Secondly, maybe more importantly, even on a high level, and we'll dive into this later, you've been in retention for a while now. Are there like fundamental shifts that have happened? I mean, it was even like pre-COVID to now, or just like new softwares, like any big, we'll go more in depth, but any obvious things that have kind of changed in the last half decade?
Yeah, I think there has been a ton and there always will be. But at the end of the day, it's all about the basic fundamentals, which is like you need the revenue, you send the emails, or you figure out the levers to pull. I do think something that has been fundamental, which we still utilize on occasion, so it's not dead and gone, is like the batch and blast structure, where you're like, oh, we have a list, we have this many people we can send to, send it all, right? Send it all, send it to everyone. And that does come into play and that does happen at certain periods in the year, like Black Friday, right? Yeah, all strategy goes out the window, just hit them with the revenue. But that is one of those big things that has changed and is ever evolving over the landscape and continues to do so, especially with all the new tools that are coming out or anything in the space. That's a big one that I think is shifting for the retention space specifically.
Thanks. I'll come back with some of the tools questions in a little bit. All right, Eric, your turn. Would love the proper intro.
Hello. I'm Eric, co-founder of New Standard with Faraz. One of the fun things that Faraz and I like saying, and when we're talking with people in the space, is nobody ever like went to college and majored in e-commerce. So listening to people and how they navigated from whatever they majored in into what their first job out of college was, mixed with how did that eventually lead into the e-commerce landscape, is really interesting because there are people who, were teachers for 20 years and then started a brand randomly that's now doing 9 figures. There are people who went to college for marketing, went right into, let's say social media, and then went into e-commerce. And so it's just really interesting to hear how people navigate to this space. I went to Arizona State University, majored in marketing and economics, got my first job out of college as like a marketing manager for a small startup. I was doing social, I was doing email, I was doing website CRO before I really knew how to do any of those. Right. And, my salary reflected that, of course. And then I got a job at the Chicago Tribune where in the LA Times, Orlando Sentinel, all those things, where I got pushed into email. And, at the time I had grandiose dreams. This is like 2012 of being the next big social media star. And the star of just, that's when Instagram and Facebook was still blowing up. So people really wanted to be in sports marketing and wanted to be in social media and be a creative director. When I got pushed into email, I wasn't necessarily thrilled about it, but I seemingly was good at it. Working for the Chicago Tribune was awesome. And then I went into the agency space at, Leo Burnett, Publicist, Digitas, worked on some huge brands like Dunkin' Donuts, Baskin Robbins, PlayStation, Sprint, and all that. And then since then, I kind of saw that the money in email was probably the best in all of the e-commerce space. So I kind of just dove further into that, and then started the agency with Faraz year and a half, 2 years ago, roughly at this point, maybe 1 year ago. Time flies in the D2C space. And since then we've been booming.
Your point about everybody's background is different. We talk about this a lot internally. Like I was a consultant MBA and then I started a brand and it genuinely was meant to be a 3-month project. And my co-founder, the guy who I like started this random watch company with, neither of us had worn watches. We just started it for fun after our MBA. He went and got a real job and then was able to buy a house. And then I ran a watch company for 7 years that we sold for less than we raised. And, then I like switched to commerce tech and blah, blah, blah. Like it's continued. So
Wild times.
yeah, it is. That part is still great. I realized the other day that I still have spent more time as a brand owner than being on the commerce enablement side. But I'm definitely out of the loop of being the brand owner. Like I feel reticent to give advice at this point. Like I see a lot, but I'm like, I don't feel it the same way you did back in the day. I certainly don't live it at the
It's
depth.
the social media space, isn't it? Right? Like everyone's looking for their side hustles or their passive income. They're seeing the Hermosis of the world talk about these things. They're seeing it all over social media, on Instagram, Twitter. And if we look at it like, starting a little more than a decade ago when social media really took off, people were working their random 9 to 5 jobs in whatever industry they're in. And you can just go to YouTube University for literally anything at this point, right? And just learn how to do PPC, how to do social media, how to make email, how to write copy. And a lot of people just do it and start freelancing to make a few side $100, a few side $1,000. And then, a year, 2 years, 3 years down the road, they're like, I can kind of quit my job and go all in on this. And then suddenly they're running a 9-figure brand.
Yeah. I mean, I love that. It's just like so much easier to start than ever. The ones that succeed, I know we'll go into this a little bit, are the ones who are like actually genuinely passionate and are actually trying to, it's not just like a side hustle, but it becomes kind of all consuming. I do have one quick follow up though. You guys started New Standard. You've been in the space for a while. Like, what was the gap you saw in the market? Where do you guys shine? What's your main focus?
Faraz and I both come from the brand side, and I have dabbled in the agency space before, but mostly from the brand side, working with startups in Fortune 500 brands. We've worked with a ton of agencies in the space. And you really get a feel of the types of agencies, whether they're super commoditized and have here's our deliverable. And you're like, man, this isn't even close to our branding. You really don't care about anything. This copy is weak. You're just trying to check the boxes. And you also run into agencies, or at least people in agencies, who really care, who do great work, who say incredibly strategic and intelligent things. And those are the people that you resonate with more. And for me, I was never in a leadership position in a brand to where I was making these agency decisions, but they were thrust upon me and my team. And you just kind of saw a huge gap in the market to where nothing was strategic, nothing was really done. And the whole team is just like, why did leadership choose this agency? And so when Faraz and I started the agency, we wanted to bring a holistic view of retention and e-commerce to the space, to where it's not just an email deliverable, it's not just an SMS. It is a holistic approach to what are the actual KPIs you're trying to influence? What are the ways that retention integrates with your acquisition program? Does it integrate at all? You'd be surprised how often it actually doesn't for brands, and they don't even speak to each other. And how can we fill the gaps of being an extension of your team, to where a lot of marketing managers in the email space are really intelligent, but they're stuck in meetings, they're stuck in corporate world, and they don't have enough bandwidth to like really disseminate their knowledge. So we come in and we simply just ask, if you had 40 hours more of bandwidth a week, what would you do with it? They tell us, we do it, everyone's happy.
All right, Marina, we're going to go into the nuts and bolts because, Eric's a very good salesman and he knows what he's doing, but I've actually seen you do the work. I'm sure he also works hard we're all there, but, walk me through what it's like at New Standard, right? So I'm not talking about in comparison to other agencies. I mean, I say this with all the love in the world, but it's like, In the same way, a 3PL isn't right for every brand, and agency isn't right for every brand. So, like, when you start with a client, what is, I don't know, what's your day in the life? How do you get going? Like, kind of walk us through more the nuts and bolts.
Yeah. So New Standard, I think, as Erica said, it's really hands on. It's very white glove. And we're here to be an extension of your team, but also to be like an extra strategic piece that maybe you didn't see because we work across so many other brands as well. So for me, my day to day and what I do there is just a lot of strategizing and then deploying, right, to make sure that I'm understanding of what it is that I'm implementing and then trying to implement that across all the brands, right? We're in different sectors, we're in different platforms, we're in different customer bases and audiences, but a lot of the stuff that we do can be applicable to each one of those in their own specific way. So the day to day for me at New Standard is strategizing from simple things, I guess you would say, like content calendars, campaigns, what the best email is to send out, all the way to like big, larger ideas of how do we convert people in post purchase quicker to that second purchase to then increase their LTV and keep them around longer and become a brand loyalist, right? Like we're quite literally the spectrum of what email do you want to send out on Monday to how do we make your LTV jump 10x over the next 3 years? And how do you want to partner to do that? That's I like again in New Standard terms, that's what my day-to-day is. But I'm sure Eric's might be a little different. He's got a lot of biz dev to
Well,
do.
hold on, we'll come back to Eric in a little bit. I wanna like kind of push level deeper, right? Like I mean, I know well, please share some of the brands you work with. I don't know who's allowed to be shared or not, so I'll be quiet. But I bring you a brand, it's a $50 million brand. They've done very well. What is your like first 30 minutes when you're inspecting a brand? Is it talking to them about their business strategy? Is it you spend 30 minutes in Klaviyo, you're like, nobody talk to me. I just want to see what you guys are doing right now. Like, how do you actually get into the business?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think personally for me and how I attack it is client relations. So if you're not, obviously, I can take a look at your account and tell you here's some low hanging fruit or areas of opportunity. Like you can do that with anyone. But client relations is really important to make sure that the next 3 month contract, 6 month, year, whatever you have, goes smoothly and everyone on the team is on the same boat of the goals, right? So it's client relations. It's what are you here for? It's really sussing out like, is it you making the decisions or do you have a C suite up there that's like shoving down your throat, revenue, revenue, revenue only, right? And then trying to
No
make it
matter
balance.
what, you need to send every day, and in fact, a PM send 3 days a
Exactly.
week, and
Yes.
can't break that rule. Got it.
Yes. Yeah. So it's really feeling out the situation is the first 30 minutes. It's super important who your, point of contact is over there, who really is making the decisions in the background, what they're looking to do. Are they measuring? Do they care about measuring? Do you want to measure? Then, yes, getting in the account and being like, great, now that I know we want to impact change. For us, it's really about showing a value within the first week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, right? Because maybe these companies have had a little bit slower to start processes, right? And we're much quicker. We're able to run faster because we're this extension of a team. So then it's like, okay, what do we want to do? Who are we working with? Do we have full runway or are we like a little bit, stopgaps? You need to approve everything. Okay, we got all that down. Great. I'm going to go run now. I'm going to look in the accounts. I'm going to see if do we have all the fundamentals. Are any of them broken? Are any of them not logically sound? Can we add any more incrementally just to quickly boost revenue? So that's quick 30 minutes into a new brand.
It's really cool. I love that kind of holistic framing. We definitely see it with some where it's like, oh, you should do this. Or like, I know I should do this. I'm literally not allowed to do that. And it's like, okay, within these confines, what can we do? Eric, if you want to jump in on anything Marina shared, please. If not, I've got a follow-up question for you.
Hit Marina. She's a savage.
All right. I'll come back to you, Marina. I know, like, I'll keep teasing out the insights. Eric, for you and for us had a vision, right? Like, I know a couple of your teammates beyond, but I know the three of you. And like just how accomplished and like your backgrounds and everything. How have you built your team? Because you guys are serving so many large, like notable brands. What is it that you're looking for in your team? Is it like people who've been like a blend of folks who've been in agency, been in brand? You're actually looking for some young, hungry folks who are just like analytical. How do you think about building kind of New Standard as a business?
That's a fantastic question. And we take our interviews and hiring very seriously because the moment you are hired onto our team, you are client facing and then you're a representative of New Standard externally. So we interview very intensely. We ask about your understanding of e-commerce holistically. You don't need to know everything about e-commerce. I certainly don't know everything about e-commerce. There's tons of things I don't know. But it's an interesting thing to see if you're an email marketer or a retention marketer or whatever you want to call yourself. Do you have any understanding of the acquisition side of the business? Do you have any understanding of e-commerce as a whole? And if you don't, perfectly fine. Are you humble enough to say, I don't know? Or do you make up a number, right? We go, typical interview question, for example, is like, what's the average conversion rate on a website? If you don't know, it's perfectly fine. You don't know. You don't actually need to know that information. If you tell us it's 20%, we're like, okay, so now you're going to lie to the client versus just saying, I actually don't know, but I'll find out and get back to you, right? There's a very yin and yang of being very transparent with our clients with the understanding of knowledge building. So, in terms of the retention space, it really doesn't matter to us if you're from the agency or you're from the brand or you're from even an ESP that we've talked to before. It's, are you hungry to get after it? We have a pretty clear mantra of producer perish in our agency, to where your main job is to, one, retain the clients, but two, make the clients happy by typically generating revenue. So just like you asked Marina 5 minutes ago, if I were to give you the keys to an account, do you need handholding? Do you need general structure? Or can you, as a senior retention marketer, just go into the account and get after it? So we ask people in interviews like, okay, you get Adidas as a brand. We don't work with Adidas, but a casual example. You get Adidas as a brand, you have no design resources, but I want you to increase revenue in the next week. How would you go about it? And if you can't answer that question, you really can't work with us, because like those are the kind of questions that the CMO of Adidas will ask you to do, right? Come in, do some tests, get after it, and go.
I'm legit feeling a little stressed right now. I'm like,
You
raise
sounded
price,
like Mean
raise,
Girls. You
raise
can't.
price by 20 cents.
Yeah. Talk to the finance team. Yeah, you got it.
I mean, that's it. I don't know, cut people. It's fine. We'll be fine. I love it. Okay. I love the framing too. And I mean, I think the like, look, I don't know, but I can go get the answer is so crucial, especially for folks kind of starting their career. Nothing gets me more than when people oversell, or it's like, well, they're saying like, we check for bots. We check for bots every day. At some point, one of our employees, and I saw some emails like, well, we check every 4 hours. And I was like, every day is good enough. Nobody's ever said every 4 hours. What, like, and it was like, once I saw that, it wasn't like an intentional trying to deceive, but it was just like, you need to know what we do and also what we don't do and where we can't help. And I think, I think that's like a very, maybe underrated skill
That's that fine line, right? When you're talking to people of under promising and over delivering. But candidly, if you under promise too much, they're going to be like, why do I want to work with you?
I mean, I think when I met you and Faraz, literally 10 minutes into the call, he was like, I don't understand what you guys do. I think we were under promising all the way. And he was just like, this is dumb. And then he sent, I think it was a quick loom or something afterwards. And then we changed our pitch literally based on that. Oh shit, we are doing this wrong. Yep. All right. We'll talk more explicitly about what we do and also, what we don't do. And we're like, if you have a winning argument, don't keep going. Just like stop with the stuff that works.
Learn how to take yes for an answer.
Yeah.
You got it.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you for coming to our podcast. I'm just going to be careful. All right, Marina, I want to go back and talk a little bit more about like, kind of some of the work that you're doing with clients. And I'm curious also, you talked about your first half hour and how you would inspect a brand. We're coming up on Black Friday, Cyber Monday. You talk to a new $10 million, $50 million brand, whatever it is, right? Like a brand that exists and is scaling well and has brought you guys on today. Is there anything you're doing differently for a brand come September 1st? I know it depends. Are they big, small? Are they in a good place or a bad place? But what are the things that you're kind of finding yourself repeating over and over to your clients, like now in preparation for BFCM?
Yeah. A ton of things can be done to prep for Black Friday, but I would say like the number one thing is testing, right? So like anything that you can start testing. I mean, you should have been doing it the entire year, but testing now to know that what works really well through BFCM. So do single hero emails versus long drawn out content emails work better? Is your welcome series as optimized as possible? Are you getting higher click rates? Or but that should always be testing. So you can be doing a ton of that right now. Pop-up testing, conversion testing. We work with great tools to make sure that we can increase opt-ins for pop-ups that then increases welcome series. Like all of that should be what you're doing now to get yourself to Black Friday to be like, great, I'm not really testing through Black Friday. I don't have time for that. We're testing a little bit in the background, but we're not doing every other campaign of testing because we have so many learnings from what we've done all year to really like hit Black Friday hard. Is that big audience sending? What size audience sending? Because we've done our audience, incremental testing throughout the year. Is it, like I said, hero only versus mass produce, longer email content stories, all of the important flows? Are we shooting abandoned carts with hero menus at the top, or are we like, no, straight up one link back to cart? That's all you get, right? All of that should have been done in preparation to get you into BFCM and have the best setup of a retention plan as possible for those crunch weeks, some brands months. So, yeah.
In terms of testing, when you try to do this, is some of it just like, hey, look, intuition, I did this, and some of it's like deep statistical testing, or is it like you guys have a certain rigor for every single thing that you're testing? Like basically, what are the shortcuts, right? If you're going to give somebody advice right now, which is like, this will be good enough for you to get a gut feel to kind of move on to the next test.
Yeah. Yeah. There's definitely, again, like with the spectrum that we talked about, there's testing like subject line testing, which is so simplistic and you can do it in 10 seconds because AI gives you a secondary subject line within 10 seconds. And then there's like, for instance, frequency testing, where we're like, are we sending too many emails per brand? Let's do a cohort analysis and really get to the nitty gritty of like, is 10 emails per week too many or 4 emails is good? Where are we losing the LTV, right? So you can do both. I would say we're quite close to Black Friday to do the latter, but it is still possible. And you should definitely be in good understanding of your frequency. But other testing, like subject line testing, what I'm talking about, like email content creation testing, that can be easy. Someone builds you an email that's this long, chop it to here and see if it does better with less, right? Welcome series should always be tested. So like that, even if you're just generating one small idea to take your welcome from like a hero that has a person of a face in it to like something that has 5 stars across it and see if that increases it. Those are simple, can be done quickly or, relatively easily and not too heavy lift on like a content team or a design team. And those are always good to be doing now and forever. But then also like we're talking about frequency testing, some of that does get a little bit harder and longer closer to Black Friday. So I think it's a mix of both. I would do content, subject line, time tests. Like those are pretty easy lifts without pulling in multiple people to do that. Post-purchase, like basket analysis, second purchase type of test, frequency tests, those are a little bit harder, closer to Black Friday type of testing.
I love it. I think just to kind of double click on that, one of the things that I think is missed too frequently is actually testing some of the small stuff. So your comment about a small refinement on a welcome flow may feel like it makes it 0.5% better, but that welcome flow is going to be sent to a lot of people. Looking at the welcome flow and being like, the 5th email has a high unsubscribe rate with very few clicks and even fewer purchases. Let's not send the 5th email. Like things like that, once you go figure it out, obviously add up. It then changes in 6 months and 12, right? Like you need to keep testing. I know that's a big piece of it. Eric, I wanted to
quick pause. Have you started seeing brands start hammering Black Friday testing and logic and planning already this early, or are you still in the early stages of it from the brands that you work with?
I'm not sure if you're asking me or Marina on this one, but oh man, I don't like being put on. I'm feeling my stress again, guys. I'm supposed to be the, what would I say? So we see it, there are things that we do, right? Like we help you understand who's engaged and who's unengaged. And on like a very, very high level, when I try to convey to brands is 100% on the testing side. We aren't touching the content or the strategy. That's why we partner with you guys, right? And other agencies, or obviously a lot of bigger brands do stuff in-house as well. That thing that I'm trying to get more of our customers to understand is the risk reward of Ascend and literally getting in shape for Black Friday, Cyber Monday. Like people fixate on deliverability scores, but you can game those. You could have like, as long as there's not a bunch of people clicking spam, your deliverability score could be high, but your inbox placement could be poor. And so where we are seeing people, I think, test is actually going the other way of like shrinking their list to try to get in health to then very like kind of shock the system, get into a good place so you can land in the inbox to then expand. I talk to a lot of brands about the day before Black Friday, you should be extraordinarily conservative, right? Like you want to get in shape so you can then like deplete your list, right? Like if you're going to message everybody then, but like don't create the opportunities for unsubscribes. In terms of like what we see through our partners and testing, I'd say a lot of people are behind where they should be. I mean, it's been a long, long time since I've thought about this, right? I think like 2019 was my last brand owner Black Friday, Cyber Monday, but like, I think people are behind, honestly. Like it is, the conversation, even Marina at the high level that we just had is, I'd say less than half of our brands are even at that point of consideration right now.
Which
when you're prepping for Black Friday on the Arita side, do you expand the intent to buy signals that you're seeing so that you give them the most engaged list that expands to the most amount of people?
Yes, but not because we put our thumb on the scale. So if you think about what our models do is we ingest all of our brands data. So for some of our enterprise brands, we're talking about like 3 billion data points that we were processing on a daily basis to help them understand. Email Eric, don't email Eric, email Marina, don't email Marina, right? And obviously there's depth there. Our model, we don't work with brands where we don't see a lot of history. For me to tell you what to do on August 20th for a brand without having seen their last August 28th, like what if the rest of August is slow, but August 28th is like actually the company's anniversary. And August 28th is the most expensive day. And so unless we have a lot of history where we can see not just like the consumer's behavior related to the brand, but the brand itself of like, what is a high risk, high reward? Like when is it worth taking risk, for lack of a better term? Our model picks that up. The thing that we changed, and this was just before BFCM last year. So 2 years ago, it was with Carroll. It was one of like the first 10 brands we work with. And this was like before I was even a co-founder. This was my co-founders who were consulting, who like started something. And then a couple months later, they're like, all right, we have a business. Let's actually like go turn the consulting business to a SaaS business. But like Carroll just trusted Arita to turn people on and off. And like literally in the run up to BFCM, Zach and DB, my co-founders, like I think it was something on the ballpark of added 50,000 profiles back to Carroll every week.
Huge.
Right? It was like 2023 with Bryce or whatever. I mean, yeah, you guys know them obviously extremely well. And it worked. And so what we did last year is we actually just opened up everything. So there was a lot of stuff we were doing for enterprise brands that we now open up to everyone. So instead of being like a black box, trust us, the math works, like turn people on and off, now we have engagement levels. And for almost every brand, and we're actually going to send out comms early next week, what we're going to do is help them reopen their lists now, because people think about it from a campaigns perspective, but it's also like by having people manually suppressed during BFCM, if they visit your site or they add to cart, they also don't get flows. And so you want to be very, very thoughtful on that front. I think maybe the last word, and again, this is not a Rita thing, but I think just more philosophically, we don't believe in list cleaning unless it's a bot. If it's a bot, sure, clean it. We think a lot about list optimization, which is like 350 days of the year, Marina should not be in this one brand's email, but like maybe for these 15, like this is the right time, like make sure to bring her back for that. And so, yeah, I have no idea if I answered your question, but I tried.
I mean, that's really I don't want to say like a confrontational thing, but we go back and forth with brands a ton about this around Q4 Black Friday, because there's 3 schools of thought that we get, yin and yang push on. Is we get told sometimes we want to email our entire list on Black Friday. We think that's not a great idea if things go south for whatever reason, and you're then blocked from Cyber Monday. Your business, literally may go belly up. You never know. But then the fun response to that is also, if you're not going to email them on Black Friday, why are they an active profile in your list? When's a better time to hit them? Mixed with clean your list or optimize your list, right? And so this is like this constant, like, okay, if we're going to send it, do we send it just once? Do we send it on Black Friday and Cyber Monday? Do we send it every time? We do this at every single brand nonstop.
I mean, I think that's the question. Marina, let me share just a quick thought, and then I'd love to hear your take, because obviously like it deeply depends. We have one massive enterprise retail brand where their click rate is like 3.5%. And literally what we talk to them about every week is you guys need to be more risk seeking. They are too tight and they can make more money and they will cause unsubscribes and their click rate will drop, but it is like go. The flip side is we have plenty of brands who like start with us at like a 0.2 or 0.3 or 0.5 or 0.6 click rate. You guys have seen this. And it's like, guys, penny wise and pound foolish. You can make $1,000 more today and send too many emails, or make $2,000 more in a month because you save people from unsubscribing, you improve your click rate. Anyway, I'm like obviously preaching to the choir here. The thing that I would think about come BFCM for a brand who's in the middle or struggling, and they have like the most engaged or the least engaged, right? Which is like how we would score people, is like, yep, send to your least engaged, but maybe at 9 a.m. on Black Friday, send to your most engaged. At 11 a.m., send to the middle tier. At 2 p.m., send to the bottom tier. And then those who don't engage, don't send them again on Saturday. Don't send again on Sunday. There's one other thing that we see, and now we've done this across multiple seasons, across many hundreds of brands. People will shrink their list way too quickly after BFCM. So hey, I need this for these 5 days. It's actually, there's a ton of revenue exhaust to be had. You just need to keep your list open. That doesn't mean keep hammering people for the next 3 weeks, but there are a lot of sales to be made on December 12th, December 14th, December 16th, even post Christmas. You just need to like think about it, like do it in a data-driven way. You obviously can't blast your whole list at that point, but like find those people who are still engaged, and yeah, absolutely keep messaging. Don't be like, okay, everybody's done. I'm done too.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, honestly, you explained it. You say that you don't work in the space, but that was pretty much the playbook of how we like to attack Black Friday, right? Because as Eric said, we do have this list, right? And we pay for these people and they're on our list and they can be emailed. So if we're not going to email them in BFCM, when would we, right? This is the time. But there is a strategy like of making sure that you're not emailing them over and over and over and over because one, you're hurting deliverability. Two, it's not going anywhere. It just doesn't make any sense. So going wide, like you're talking about, and doing the segmentation of like the more less engaged over the day is great. We use that in Caraway. The segments that you built there, which we built in tandem together, have been huge because I know we originally had one, right? And we were like, hey, this is the Arita, this is the one segment, and then it's like, well, here's Arita. We didn't call them tiers, but like tier one, like these people are engaged, you're engaged people, and then it's like tier two, these are more engaged, right? These are less engaged. Using that and having those levers, especially during huge sale periods like BFCM, massive. Because yes, you want to send to everyone, but also at the end of the day, when you go look at your audience segmentation, not everyone cares about it or wants it. So then you're like, great, this one didn't perform, this one didn't perform. I'm gonna try to inbox better on the next one. I'm gonna remove these people out. And those segments that you guys are building over there is really helpful for that. And we honestly, I use them almost on every send for
Thanks,
Carroll.
Marina. I wanna dive a little bit more into the BFCM and a little bit into flows. I know this is obviously a specialty for you. So Eric, maybe I can start with you. If it's useful, when you think about lifestyle, life cycle flows, what's kind of an overrated tactic that people are thinking about? What's underused? Like what are the things that you guys are seeing in terms of flows?
Yeah, this actually goes back to, the click rate, right? Where people are hearing the word, I've been on brand side, right? So a lot of times a C-suite person will have gone to some sort of podcast or webinar or seminar or something. They heard some person with credibility say the word personalization. They come back to their team and they say, we need to personalize, right? And then, again, being from the brand side, then they drift off into the abyss because they don't really want to talk to you. And you're, as the senior marketing manager or associate director or whatever, you're sitting there like, what does that mean? Right? Like, what do you actually want to see? So we're in what I consider a point of over personalization to where people are talking about, zero party data, first party data, third party data, whatever it might be, and they're overdoing the amount of down the rabbit hole personalization they're doing. Like, let's say, for example, you have a welcome series, and in your pop up, you have 4 categories that someone may choose that they're interested in. They typically don't know your entire product suite. They don't know all your categories. They really don't know a whole bunch about your brand outside of they went to your website, they saw the pop up. Now they're met with this first tier option. We've seen when we audit brands a ton of times, they'll have that question in the pop-up and then they'll filter their welcome series into each individual one of those sections and potentially, from 0 to 100 get granular with their personalization. But you're already like boxing people into this category that they may or may not even like truly want to be in. Like maybe I wanted this one like 2% more than the next one. And so like if you're not showing me your entire product suite, you're just limiting your sales. And in our typical mentality for really any flow to combat personalization, and all of this should be tested, is what's my best product? What's my best landing page? How can I get my best product on my best landing page in front of as many people as often as I can? That should really be your end all be all question and answer on every single thing that you're doing. And the more you personalize, the further away you get from that.
I mean, that is gold. It's like the keep it simple, stupid, right? Like you have something that really, really works. Stop bringing people away. When you were talking about this, it literally feels like a TikTok algorithm or like anything where it's like you clicked on the one video and you can't get away. And you're like, I just want to start again. This isn't everything to me. Like, yeah. Okay. Anyway, I'm with you, man. I love the framing. I don't have anything
Great
wise to say.
analogy.
No, we also see the opposite too, right? People like collect their zero party data and then like they don't do anything with it. And we're like, well, what's the point of like asking this question, which may or may not hurt your pop-up CVR? But now you have this data point, and then it's a great question of like, when should you use it? How often should you use it? And then do you have any data that it's helping or hurting your conversion from business as usual?
I mean, that's always a question. It's like, yes, and we can go get you a ton of data. And do you have any idea what you're doing with it? If not, cool. Like, why are you collecting it? Like, it doesn't matter. Marina, I want to stick on flows. And I've actually been thinking even align with something you said earlier around SMS plus email. And I know you guys do more than just SMS and email, but let's simplify there. How do you think about flows kind of cross channel? Do you like treat them each separately? Again, does it depend brand by brand? Like a subscription brand is different, or I don't know. I want to create the space for you.
Yeah. Yeah. It is cross channel and we look at them holistically in terms of their entire retention program. So it does really, like you had mentioned, depend on brand. So some brands that are like D2C, e-commerce, more fast fashion can have more that sort of cross over each other and it doesn't feel so invasive into like your inboxes are being marketed to. And then there's some brands where it's like subscription and they only have one product and you want to be very careful about how often you're triggering a flow to email them or an SMS, right? So we again the spectrum are on both ends of it. And I would say for most of my brands, at least that I run, it's the former where it's like D2C and they're pretty used to having you in their inboxes, especially if it's off of a triggered event that they're causing themselves. So flows were pretty aggressive on like, well, if you took the action, we're going to email you about it. And then we're really going to measure at what point you get pissed off of us emailing you and look at that RPE is the place to order right there. If it's not great, we're going to take one away. If it is there, great, we're going to add one. We're going to test the timing. We're going to test the content, everything like that. But that for me, for my brands, at least specifically, we do a ton of triggering based on like what actions you took and really hone in on flows, at least for email. And then we also layer on SMS and where we can, we'll try to, determine which channel you're more to, right? Push, SMS, email, but it just depends on the brands that we have, their platforms they have set up, the apps they have integrated.
If you think about kind of the testing framework that you were talking about before with email, or email, the vast majority of the time has a way larger list. It is less expensive to send. You can get more data. How do you think about testing with SMS where you're not um, like, yeah, or do you get as kind of contrasty, or you're like, well, I think this is right and I'll test the smaller stuff with SMS, or how do you think about that?
As contrasty, if not more. We test send times, we test content, we test right emojis. Everyone's like, oh, we got to throw an emoji in to get more, right? And it's always less for us, at least. Every once in a while, it wins out. Or MMS, right? Like we're always testing those. People are like, no, it has to have an image. It needs to show our brand. I'm like, the data says it doesn't. So we're always doing those types of tests. We also will try to figure out, again, frequency testing for us is huge at New Standard, trying to figure out if you are sending too much or too little, or if we can increase or decrease that and keep the revenue and keep the RPE. We do the same thing on our SMS channel. So do sending more, sending less, the content styles. We do a lot of flow testing, splits, time delays, triggers that we're triggering off of. So for me, again, and the brands that I'm running, the testing is one to one, if not more, in SMS, and then also push, right? Push is a huge channel and free, like you're saying, if you're talking about cost structure. SMS is expensive. I'm already going to be sending the SMS messages though, so I'm going to be charged for it. So I might as well test into it. Ends up paying for it. Push is also another channel that you can get, automated flows, triggers, messages set up, free to test. Drop them in there. It's not hard to like quickly be like AB and then do two different languages on it. So yeah, we do a ton of testing. That's like probably our number one mantra behind Producer Parish.
That's super cool.
It always needs to be tested, right? That's
I mean, I absolutely love it. All right, I've got one more kind of tactical question for you, and then Eric, I'll pull out a little bit. The one thing that I noticed with you guys is like you build really strong content calendars. How do you think about that right now for email and SMS, and like especially running up to BFCM? Again, it's like 2 months away and basically around the corner, right? Yeah, like are you looking week by week right now, month by month? Are you already scheduled through year end? What does good look like?
For me, across the brands, it depends. It depends on the team that you have on the other side and how quickly they can also build out what content calendar you're building. Some of the brands were a couple weeks ahead and looking at trends, right? More trending and like what people are looking at week over week. Some, they're larger products that don't change so often, like a D2C fashion. That's pretty trendy. Some are bigger and we don't need to be so tight with our content campaign planning because like our core is our core and our core is what sells. And so we're like a little further out with campaign calendars. The process for building one, and then especially for BFCM, one you hit on earlier, which is like the look back. It's really nice to have brands that have done some stuff in the past, right? What worked last year BFCM, what worked the year before BFCM, what worked in the last 30, 60, 90, what worked in the last L365. Are there new products that have been launched since then that are now trending higher than if they would have been in the trending last year BFCM if they were around? What content is being clicked on more often than just opened, right? So we do like we work with an incredible data team and creative strategist, Daniel, who will go through all of the campaigns, do like a massive export, look at the data to say like, yeah, these were the ones that worked. Obviously, open rate, click rate, all the tier one metrics. But then he'll take it like 2 or 3 layers deeper to be like, these worked, but these ones got clicked on for this X amount of people sent to, and here were the sections that got clicked on. And then after that, here is what products sold from those sections to be clicked on. And so then we'll be like, great, we're going to take that chunk of that design and put it into like more testing for campaigns to make sure that this style of design worked really well. And that again builds back into the content calendar. What products are working, what merchandising, what are in your top 10, what do we need to sell through, what inventory do you have too much of, what inventory do you not have enough of, right? All of that combined in like a working session with your point of contact at the brand, and then a delivery of like, here's what I'm thinking. And then they kind of like softball it back and forth. So
Easy peasy. That's all.
it's a fun Monday project.
Eric, I want to ask you one more question in the weeds, actually, and then I want to step out and talk a little bit about like agency versus in-house and a little bit about
Hit
the
me.
tech world and blah, blah. Is there anything you want to talk about, like kind of second level metrics or a little bit deeper, like when you think about the retention world, right? Like we started broad, we went into tactics, but also like stepping back, like what metrics should brands be looking at that they're maybe not paying attention to? Or what are you guys looking at to inspect the health of a company and in particular their retention?
Yeah, fantastic question. We look at our relationships with every one of our brands, in a form of a love language, right? And people sometimes laugh when I say that, but it's actually like really accurate. Where if your mission is X or your love language is X, and if you also haven't read the love language book, highly recommend reading it. There's 5 love languages. You got it right next to you.
I haven't read, but I
There
have
you
it.
go.
Actually, no
Was this a
joke.
gift from my wife? I don't
Yes,
remember, but
1,000%
Good.
yes. I know it was.
She's telling you something.
I gave one to Travis. I was like, here you go. Here you go.
But in that book, if you read it, and in any relationship in general, people give and receive love in a way that they have that's unique to them, right? And to get back on to actual business topics, all of these typically circulate up into revenue, but the way that you get there is very different. And so if we're optimizing for one thing, and as a brand, you're measuring us success by another thing, we could be getting to the same goal, but we think we're crushing and you think we're failing. So we ask every brand, like, one, what are your goals? What are your specific brand focused KPIs? And those fluctuate massively. In a subscription brand, it could be, we really want to lower our month one churn. Cool. Let's focus on it. In an apparel brand, it could be, we really want to increase our month one repurchase rate because our CAC is too high. You go, great. And we optimize for it. If a brand is literally like, I want to get 30% of attributed revenue in my Klaviyo account, we go, great, right? But not all 30% of attributed revenue is created equal. It could be, candidly, 100% from campaigns, 100% from flows, or some sort of mix. It could be because you're just sending sales every single day, or it could be because your flows are so dialed in that it's the right message at the right time to the right person, and it's doing great. So we really have to align with the brand on what they think their goals are. Sometimes they don't even know. And we don't know until they tell us, right? So all of these roll into, are we increasing revenue year over year, period over period? Yes or no? Are we growing your list? Are you happy with us? And then the foundational under that is like, great, what are your secondary metrics that we can improve on? Is it 4-time purchasers? You're really trying to get loyalty? Is it your subscription app being adopted? Is it, cross sells and upsells? Is it this one product line we really need to get 15,000 people to purchase into it? All of those questions are asked by us, given to us by the brand. And then we're hyper aligned on, great, we're going to take this a long time to get here. Here's what our basic KPIs are. And in 6 weeks, let's check in to make sure we're trending properly.
I want to put you guys on the spot for some advice. We have a prospect we've had a couple of calls with. The head of CRM, head of growth wants to engage with us. It is a company that, their list is 2 million. It's a pretty big brand. It's an old line brand. They send AM, PM sends. They are very much on that treadmill, and they are a sale business. We are trying to help, like they want us to help tell that data story of, hey, here's how we can tell I don't know if it's a CEO or CMO or CFO, whatever, but like, yes, we are making slightly more revenue today, kind of hurting. How do you get people off that treadmill, right? Because you both have talked about this, which is like you want to serve your brand in the way that they want to serve in the metric, but sometimes the CRM team is restricted. How do you help them kind of grow over time?
Marina, that's all you. She
It's,
just
yeah,
completed tests like
I
this.
just did it. I think what the first thing is you have to understand, again, like Eric was talking about love languages, who you're talking to on the other side, who you're trying to convince it of, and then what they're looking to be convinced of. So like if it is top down and it's like, we don't care, we want to see revenue grow 10% year over year, you really have to know that before then you come at them with like, we should send less, right? And the way that you get to that answer, or even what that number looks like, or the fact that like, hey, maybe an AM PM isn't the best method, let's try something else, for us at least, is that conversation and then frequency testing, which we just completed for a big brand. You run through the analysis of like, hey, currently we send this many per week on average, right? And it goes to this cohort or these couple of cohorts. Let's break that down and send to the same cohort, but break it down from like 10 to 7 to 4. And then let's measure their predictive LTV, their LTV, how many times they ordered in that time frame, their unsub, and then we need the cost of a CAC so we can kind of calculate how much you're saving per unsub, or like how long you're going to keep them around on the list. Align on those KPIs first, because the other problem that you'll run into is you'll create this entire thing and then you'll say, here, we're going to run this. And then they're going to be like, well, what's success? Right. And you're like, I don't know. You tell me. Are you good with maybe losing a little short term revenue? But then in the back end, you're going to see, your customers stick around longer and your LTV increase. If you don't align on those first with the person that is making these calls, your test is a wash, right? Like you can come back and be like, no, we should 100% only be sending 4 emails per week based on this long test we ran. And they're going to be like, yeah, but that'll cut revenue by X% over a week. And we don't want that. And you're like, okay, well, guess we're not on the same page. So I think that's and very important, is like for us, frequency testing, feeling out the brand. Are they really interested in being a long-term brand, which is, again, a little less spammy, if you will, a little less sending, little less revenue on the front end, maybe, but in the long term, higher LTV. But frequency testing for us is a big thing that we like to do.
Positioning everything as a test is kind of where we've been going, even within like our 6-month proof of concept. Like, great, month 1, we're going to validate this, month 2. One of the things that we recently launched is within our audit, and actually, Marina, I need to send you one for one of your brands separately, because this was in the last couple of weeks, where we'll try to tell them in a 90-day look back, like what % of your revenue came from what % of your customer base. And it's kind of like the old adage, like 50% of your marketing is wasted, but which 50%? We're pretty good at seeing that now on the email side. So we feel like we can start with like, we've moved to allowing people to use a read in an additive fashion. Like if we work with you guys, it's not like they don't know what they're doing, stop using their segmentations. Like they know exactly what they're doing. Let us go complement at the top end and find some people, and then maybe remove 5%, 25%, depends on the brand, right? From a send, you'll see the impact. And like, hopefully you quickly see you don't have to forego revenue because you shrink your list. Actually, like you grow it. Okay. I love
Yeah,
that.
we've seen you guys prove that time and time again. 100% produce incremental revenue for the brands that we've worked with.
Every single thing we touch turns to gold. I think that's what I'm hearing you say. This is I appreciate it. All right. We do have a couple minutes left. So I want to create a little bit of space. Eric, I want to ask one more question about like agency versus in-house, because I feel like I cut that conversation short earlier. When is an agency the right choice? Like, I know it's obviously leverage, but like, what are the conditions that make it kind of best for a brand to use you guys?
Yeah, this is my favorite question on earth to answer, because everyone answers different. And let me just be that guy and flip it back on you. When you're working with brands, especially brands who are heading into Q4, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and they're either stressed about bandwidth, not really thinking about bandwidth, or just in general evergreen year over year, what do you see the difference when you're working with a brand that has an agency or has an only in-house team?
I think there are some things that the brand itself knows. And it depends on the brand, right? So if you're a brand where like the founder is a product person and she can build the best bag possible and has the passion and like has the story, you don't outsource the production and the design of the bag. But if that person doesn't have any clue, like about even just literally frequency, then you go bring in somebody who's an expert at that. Like we talk about this separately, but it's, if you have the best content in the world, but the wrong timing, or you have the right timing and the worst, like not the best content, it's a miss. You need both. You need to hit people up at the right time. If you hit them up at the wrong time, forget they don't click, they might unsubscribe, right? And then you've lost them for a better time. But if you have that blend. And so I look at the brands who we work with, and there are, maybe it's 50-50 use an agency, 50% do it themselves. It's the ones who like have people who've been in CRM and email marketing for a long, long time, where it's like the juice may not be worth the squeeze to bring in a third party, right? Like they can move quickly. The flip side is the people who have like a huge database where they are running the same playbook they ran 6 months ago, forget 2 years ago, but like even 3 months ago, you're doing the same thing today. You're not like trying a new tool or to Marina's point, like you haven't tested your approach of AM/PM sends, or it's the ones where they're not actively testing and learning, where to me, it's a no brainer. Go bring in a third party, even if it's for like a 6 month engagement, right? Like we never want to sign up somebody to be here for 4 months and disappear, right? It's like we will say no to customers if we're like, if we can't create a big enough impact, I don't want to waste a founder's time. But I think for brands, like they get way too stagnant. And so I think that is probably like the signal for me.
I think you nailed it with like one piece in there of how I would suggest to a brand if you need an agency or not, which is if you can't move quickly, right? Like if you cannot move quickly in your internal structure and setup, you may want to check out an agency because it is frustrating, right? Like you want to do these things. Maybe you come in and you're like, I have these ideas of how to get single category buyers to buy the next category, which then increases their LTV. I got the data. I have the understanding. I know how I want to connect dots A, B, and C, but your copy team is a little less, stacked, right? And your design team is packed with ads and all these other things. And they're like, oh, we'll get to it in 3 to 6 weeks. And you're like, no, 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 I want to launch that flow now. I want to test this theory now. That is probably one of the bigger pieces of like, why you would want an agency. We move quickly, right? Like, oh, you have an idea? I'll spin you up some emails in 2 to 3 days. Like, shout out designers that do that. But
Marina, you're very much speaking my language as a startup founder because all I talk about is speed and like speed to learning, speed to decision, like all of that. I love it. Thank you for the reframe. That's spot on. All right, we have a minute left. I want to create a little space for you guys. If there are any last minute takeaways, but also where can folks find you? Eric, I'll start with you. Marina, you get the last word.
You can find us on our website. You can find us on LinkedIn and Twitter. Post there frequently. Posted about this on both. Follow. We have a whole team. If you go to our LinkedIn, you can find pretty much everyone who works for us. And some people post intelligent things. I'm not one of them, but someone else
Where
does.
where does Faraz rank compared to you?
He's much better looking, and he gets up way earlier than me
he's so
in the
early.
morning.
So early.
And anytime you talk to him, he'll let you know that he gets up earlier than me in the morning.
I love it. I've got comments that I'm going to hold. Marina, just give us some wise takeaway. You've seen so much. I don't know. It's a run up to BFCM. What did you want to say that you didn't say, or what did you say that you think is worth double clicking on for like you to be able to like shake that brand founder and be like, don't forget to do this.
Yeah. I think like for retention specifically, I think one of the big things that sat with me for when I learned retention, it's like there are all these things you can measure. There's data, there's testing, there's all of these things, but know your goals, right? If your goal is X amount of revenue, make it to that goal and then assess the plan and pull a lever to do so. And then look back after and be like, how could I have done it better? But I think that goes back to the speed thing, right? Like just do it, just go for it, just engage in it, just try to shoot your shot, just do the test, just launch the flow, get to it so you can get your learnings and your understandings and analyze it and then adjust, regroup, try again, right? Like again, it's speed. Just try it and see how it pans out. So
I love it. I took a bunch of notes. I'm sure everybody listening took a bunch too. Thank you both. This was really, really enjoyable. I appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
thank you.
Do you wish your D2C brand had the marketing superpowers of big tech? At Arita.ai, we've done the hard, mathy machine learning work to make that happen. Our advanced AI, once reserved for Silicon Valley giants, finds high-intent customers, pauses those who aren't ready to buy, and even zaps the bots. Over 150 plus e-commerce brands trust Arita to add hundreds of thousands of dollars in incremental revenue with our AI. If you're a marketer at a D2C brand, it's time to level up. Visit Arita.ai for a free email engagement audit and turn your customer list into a revenue engine.